Before we settle in to another Friday night filled with toppies and hangers and hopefully a fight, before we order pizza or open up a beer, this is sure to make you laugh more than Vickery's career. Thoughts with Eddie, from Delidio to Kelly. Thoughts with Eddie, from Jong to Bontempelli. Tune in to Thoughts with Eddie and find out who will win. Trev struggling with Facebook and Bunga's stupid grin. From Canberra to Karratha and Adelaide in between. And Hayden up in Tokyo tormenting Asian teens. Thoughts with Eddie will tell you who is fit. Thoughts with Eddie will tell you who is shit. The Thunderdome's gone global and we're bringing you their news. A shortened version for the fans, compressed like Maddie's shoes. Thoughts with Eddie, if your friends ask you should tell 'em. Thoughts with Eddie, hashtag fuck Callum.
Welcome to Thursday Thoughts with Eddie Anchor. I'm your host, Eddie Anchor. We're going to try a real tight format tonight. We're going to keep everything under 10 minutes, so let's start the clock and see how we go. 10 minutes and we go. Alright, last week we had some really epic close games. It's probably the closest any round has ever been. Normally we get one game probably every month that's under 10 points. This week we had two of them. We had Trev, big Trev got his first win, beating Mick by 5 points. Chris, in the last dying seconds of the game, defeated Robbo by 3 points. Steve defeated Tom by 34 points. Hayden was taken care of quite comfortably in the end by Matt by a lazy 56. The Commish defeated half of Sam by a lot. Bunga flogged Ben, which was pretty much to be expected. And Andy pounded Callum to round out rivalry. Alright, so we move straight on to this week's matchups. It's going to be a real tight format. Alright, first game of the round, Commish versus Chris. Now, for this week, Chris has brought in Schneider, Johannesson and Newton. Some key points about Chris's team this week. Chris has got 4 Melbourne mids. It's not a basket I'd really like to be putting all my eggs into, to be perfectly honest. Jared McVeigh's back into the lineup. That's going to be a huge bolstering player for his defence. But at the other end of the ground, Brett Delidio's out for him, so that's a key loss. For the Commish, the Commish is pumped. The seed is back. The seed is planted right in the key of his defence. And the hyphen, George Hall-Smith, back this week. Aish out. One key thing about the Commish's team, has anybody seen Tom Mitchell? Can't get game. Send him to Richmond. We'll happily have him. The Commish did have an Aish up his sleeve, but the Commish just booted Aish to the curb this week. No longer an Aish up his sleeve. He's gone. The hyphen straight back in, straight onto the field, and set for a big game. And last but not least, the Boyds are back in town. The Boyds are back in town. Matty Boyd. Wasn't it a renaissance of form last week for Matty? Had a huge 120 odd score last week. I can't see that changing. He's going to have a big year. Possibly his last year, maybe not. We'll see how we go. In this game, I think Chris has got too many Melbourne players, so I'm going to go with Commish by 50 points. Hello, little man. Alright, Tricky versus Hayden. Tricky led and Billings in. This week, I think Treloar's probably going to take over the captaincy. It's only a given. Natural progression. The guy killed it last week. Last week, discipline was a costly error, which probably an area that cost Tricky. He lost by 3 or 5 points, and he had the most free kicks against of any team, 32. Got the linchpin back in offence. Tommy Lynch for the Gold Coast. He'll be set for a big game this week. It could be a big score coming up. Hayden, he hasn't picked anybody up yet. Still hasn't named a full team last time I checked. He's got Selwood, Side, Bottom and Motlop all out. He's walking the tightrope though, without anybody coming in just yet. He's got to keep all 3 of them. That means 1 out, and it's a 0 straight off the bat. Last but not leastly, Japanese men all across the country are celebrating. There's one less white person over there trying to steal their Asian women. He's over here for a short period of time. It seems like he's brought his typical form back to the country with him. Yeah, back in form, Hayden. Good to see. 8-1 odds were last time I checked. 3 of his best players out. Tricky by 120. Easy. Alright. Robbo versus Williams. Williams has brought in Gleeson. I'm not even sure what a Gleeson is. And Tommy Bell. Williams has promised the commission this week that he will try his utmost to fill a full team. Probably not helped by the fact that Bartel was just a late out, but anyway, he'll be looking for a point of difference this week, more than 15 players. Still got no ruckman, still no emergency replace him at this stage. I think his promises of trying, falling on deaf ears at the moment. He has the players, he just needs them to find form. I mean, he's got the likes of Dangerfield, who was, he wasn't all that good last week, about 100. The Hoff needs to find some form, and Tommy Hawkins was real quiet last week, so hopefully all 3 of them can fire for him. Robbo, no changes. I don't know whether it's because he's relying on his team to come good, or because he hasn't got the internet up there. Either way, his team's got huge upside. Considering his captain was Cochin last week, who only got about 50 points, he's got a lot of improving to do this week. He's another one running with minimal emergencies. Very risky plan, especially when you're going to play 8 games and hope that you don't have any late outs or injuries. Billy is no longer a backup. With H-Mac and David Hale missing this week for him, Billy Long is going to take over the reins and carry Robbo's team to victory, I think. It'll be a tight finish, but after last week's loss, he'll be very hungry for a victory. Robbo by 30 points. Ben versus Matt. Ben's brought in half the free agency. He's got Gwilt, McIntosh and Robertson. Ben's like the Essendon of the league. He just needs somebody to help hold up his team. All of his stars are out. The only difference is he doesn't have any stars to begin with. Like the rest of us, he needs Swan to cut loose versus the Crows. He wants Swan to cut loose so he can get the points. We want him to cut loose so the Crows will fucking shut the fuck up. Crowley out. Here's Stevie J's chance for Benny to crack a decent score finally against Fremantle. And Heredia Lumumba, isn't he going to be a bust this year? All the hype of the pre-season. Played a cracking game on the weekend and I think he got about 70 points. Waste of time. All hype, no output. Matt, no changes, none needed. Threw away the lead last year. He'll be looking to make amends this year. Matt de Boer is still in his team. I think that's going to come back to bite him. No team with Matt de Boer in it has ever been successful. Nick Nat could possibly score 190 this week versus Cam Wood. His name is not the only characteristic he shares with a tree. He fucking turns like the Titanic. I've seen icebergs melt faster than he moves. Possibly 50 plus hitouts coming up for Nick Nat tonight. Still waiting. Can't say I'm surprised. A bloke who's shown nothing for 11 years in Jared Waite, again showed nothing the other day. I'm not surprised. I don't know why anybody else is surprised. He's had 11 years to do something, did fuck all on the weekend, going to do fuck all for the rest of the year. He'll be a bust as well for North Melbourne and for Matt. Matt is going to win this game by the length of the straight though. 321 point victory coming up. Callum versus Trev. Callum, Taylor Hunt in. I think he had about fucking 10 other ins it, but don't know where they are. Don't have time to look for them. I think Callum's chasing the dragon by bringing Taylor Hunt in. To quote the great Wiz, he not do that every week, mate. Callum's team very much like North. Overconfident coming into round 1. Beaten by a far more clinical outfit. They need to rebound quickly. Travis Varco or Apollo Creed. Knocking out Rocky for the first few weeks puts a big dent in Callum's chances of winning the league this year. And with late mail that Rory Sloan could be a possible out, it's going to be interesting. See how he goes. Trev. Fucking Casbolt is in. The big Casbolt. Good to see. McKay staying in isn't a good sign, considering he got 69 points for Trev last week. He's about to double his games tally ever in the Thunderdome. Turner in for a big week. He had a huge round. What's going on, pup? What you got, mate? Kane Turner had a huge impact on the game last week when he did come on. He'll certainly be starting on the field this week, I would imagine. He's set for a big one. He'll be looking to make the most of every opportunity he gets. There's nobody else in that team that could possibly start ahead of him. He was better than 21 others last week with about a quarter of a game. Looking at the bottom 6 teams in the league this year, Trev could probably just win this game and lock up a spot in the top 8 in his debut season. I can't see fucking 5 other teams winning 2 games or more. Alright, but it's going to be a 1 week wait for Trev, because I can see Callum getting up in this one, just as long as he doesn't drown in his own bathwater first. Callum by 63 points. Andy versus Tom. Andy, Jesper Pittard in, Brad Crouch in. Let's see how long he can hold on to him. Currently holds the record for the highest weekly score of any player, any coach in the league. 1800 is going to be a tough score to get to this year, so that was a good start by Andy. From pick 14, he's already looking like more of a genius than he already did, which is pretty tough considering he carries around a pocket protector, sweater vest, and Jerry Lewis glasses. Now, last, he may be out of, what are we looking at here? I fucking don't know what that means, but yeah, that's right. He might be out of solid match form because he didn't play much of an opponent last week, so he could be in for a tough one this week. Bit of a surprise. Tom has got Risky Telly and Garland in. He was beaten by Steve last week. There really is... Oh, we're up to 10 minutes already. Oh, we'll see how we go. No bigger insult than getting beaten by Steve. Certainly plenty of motivation for this week. He's got a full list to choose from, so he'll only have himself to blame if he loses this one. Pendles is currently looking like the best pick in the draft this year. Of all the top 4, he scored the highest score last week, and it looks like he might have made the right choice in letting Rockcliffe go. The Oracle of Fantasy Footy to once again put on a clinic and wipe the floor and clean the petri dishes with Tom. Andy by 189 points. Bunga versus Steve. Bunga's got Weller, Cripps and Stringer all in. If I checked my phone and refreshed it, he probably got another 4 in between the last time I freaking looked at it. He's already weaving his usual magic, which is dropping all the good players and bringing in shit ones who were good last week. He'll be doing nude voodoo dances under moonlight this week in hoping to appease the gods to let Gary Ablett's shoulder be okay, because he looked fucking limp on the weekend. So, still got 96 points, but be looking for a big increase in output if he's going to justify being pick 1 this year. Big Goods will be the instructions on game day, but I can't see that being the result. Big Goods, what a fucking terrible pick, Bunga. Steve, Cheney and Carlisle in. Whole lot of loving for McGlovin. How fucking good was he last week? 150 points, great pick by Steve. He's going to be, I reckon he could be a fucking cracker player this year. Might be a freaking a knockout. Unfortunately, even with that sort of player, he's still got a rubbish forward line. Last week was a one-off. I don't think we'll see that sort of performance every week from Steve's forward line. Toby Green for Steve could get a cricket score against Melbourne this week. I can't see who they're going to put on him. He could just run rampant. I can see Viney going to Ryan Griffin, and I can see Toby Green just running around picking up cheap kicks everywhere. This game, I can see being a draw. I cannot favour one over the other because they're both equally as poor coaches, and neither of them really justifies winning a game in this league. Alright, now we move on to the current standings of the Winslow Award. This is basically a 3-2-1 style award for each game based on their fantasy points. So at the end of the season we will have a Winslow winner. Alright, so if we look at it for this week, obviously we've got 9 players all tied on 3 points, the likes of Lewis and Mundy and Ebert, etc, as you can see in front of you. But we'll see how we go over the course of the year, and we'll see which team takes home the Winslow Award. Now, move on to Eddie's Rant. Eddie's Rant is a new segment that's basically going to be 3 topics. I'm happy for emails to fly in about what topics to rant on. And Eddie's going to have a bit of a rant. So we move on to Eddie's Rant. First cap off the rank. North Melbourne supporters. How fucking quickly did they disappear this year? For 6 months, all we've been hearing is about how they're going to win the flag and how fucking good they're going to be. And Drew Petrie this and Andrew Swallow that. Where the fuck were they last week? They were piss weak. If this is a team that's going to seriously challenge for a fucking flag this year, that ain't the sort of performance that they put up. What was worse than their fucking players' performance was their supporters' performance. There was nothing. They rolled over. They were fucking piss weak. Normally when a team gets beat, the supporters will come out in defence of them. Oh no, it was just a bad game. No, we'll be back. We'll be good. None of that. They fucking disappeared. I was lifting up rocks in the backyard and, oh, fucking hell, what's a North Melbourne supporter doing under here? Open the fucking boot of my car, under a blanket. North Melbourne supporter. They fucking went underground. They were piss weak. Back your team win. If you're going to talk the talk, walk the walk. Alright, now, next thing. Geelong on Stephen Motlop. That's a fucking disgrace. How can you sack your best player after he comes out and gets 31 touches on the weekend for having a fucking couple of brews on the Friday? Team rules or not, you don't get rid of your best player. If I was freaking Scotty, I'd be sending him down there with a fucking 10 spot saying, have yourself a couple of freaking pots before you come and play on the weekend. Because if that's the sort of performance he's going to put up after being liquored up, I'll be doing it every fucking week. Now it's time for Eddie Anker's Weekly Wanker. I've had this one saved up for a couple of months, just getting ready to let rip. Everybody's got one of those mates. You know, the blokes that, they'll come around and eat all your food and shit on your floor and kick your dog and break your shit, just in general. Yeah, so I've got one of those mates. Now, he's one of my best mates, but he's that bloke. He'll come around, he'll... fucking hell. He almost killed my dog last time he was here. He break my glasses, drink my piss, shit in my shoes and just leave. So, one night he comes around for a drink. And he leaves rather intoxicated. Now, Eddie Anker's everybody's good friend. So Eddie suggests that probably not drive home. Old mate decides, nah, I'm fucking fine. Hops in the car. Fucking, I go outside, I thought he'd killed somebody. Yeah, all I can see on the ground is a fucking shadow. I run across, thinking I found a fucking, some homeless kid's been wandering the street and fucking this bloke's just ploughed over him with his ute. It's Eddie's mailbox. So, this bloke's ploughed over Eddie's mailbox. And, nothing. Never owned up. Never. So, this is a long coming weekly wanker for the bloke that run over my mailbox, never owned up to it, never admitted it. He had the audacity to come round the next day and put a postcard in my mailbox while it was laying scattered across the ground. Tricky Mickey, you are Eddie Anker's Weekly Wanker. Thank you very much for another good show. We'll see you in a week. Good luck. Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who? Watch out, Callum. It's a dog.